Maria of Teck's ruby bracelet, and Timur's necklace, symbols of British royal luxury. The ruby bracelet of Maria of Teck is the epitome of luxury and elegance. Its bright red colour harmoniously combines with the cold brilliance of diamonds, creating an effect of depth and sophistication. This bracelet was one of the Queen's favourite pieces of jewellery, which she received as a wedding gift from the Duke of York. Residents of Cornwall County presented Maria with an ornament decorated with many diamonds and red crystals in the shape of York roses, symbolising her new title. In the photo, Maria of Teck and George VI. On the Queen's collar, you can see a ruby flower, which is the central part of the bracelet. This flower can be removed and worn as a brooch. Interestingly, the Duke of York also presented Maria with a rose-shaped jewel with rubies, which sometimes causes confusion. However, Maria of Teck's letters, in which she shares her impressions of the gifts, confirm that it was the people of Cornwall who presented her with this bracelet. Elizabeth II, the granddaughter of Mary of Teck, continued the family tradition and wore this bracelet on her wrist. She often combined it with other rubies or diamonds. Another symbol of royal luxury is Timur's necklace, which includes an incredible 352.5 carat stone. The central crystal is a raw spinel with the names of the owners on the wide edges. Thanks to this inscription, we know for sure that the stone belonged to the famous Tamerlane. For hundreds of years, spinel was in the hands of the Persian Shahs, Mughal emperors and other rulers, until it ended up in the British Treasury in 1851. 2 years later, Garrard jewellers created a diamond necklace with 4 scarlet stones, including the Timur ruby. At the request of Queen Victoria, the central stone was made removable so that it could be worn as a brooch or replaced with a Koh-i-Noor diamond. The necklace was inherited by every queen, but none of them dared to wear it. Perhaps wearing a stone with such a history is not so easy. It is a pity that such beauty remains in the boxes, deprived of the opportunity to shine and delight others. Fenberg Tiara with antique diamonds. The tiara was made in the late 19th century for Irma von Furstenberg. For centuries, the Furstenberg family was at the very top of the list of important aristocratic families in the Habsburg Empire. Their first ancestors were from Swabia in the south of Baden-Württemberg. Today, little remains of their original castle, built at the end of the 12th century on the Fürstenberg, which means Prince's Hill. The tiara is transported in necklaces and brooches, and it can also be worn without pearl inserts. The tiara, which became Elizabeth II's favourite piece of jewellery, was originally a wedding gift from an ambitious groom to his bride. Grand Duke Vladimir Alexandrovich ordered this tiara to the jewellery company Karl Edward Boleyn in 1874 for a huge sum at that time, 48,200 rubles. The first owners, Vladimir Alexandrovich and his wife Maria Pavlovna, were extraordinary personalities. Vladimir Alexandrovich built the magnificent Vladimir Palace, which is now the home of scientists in St. Petersburg. Maria Pavlovna, despite being a German princess, remained a Lutheran and converted to Orthodoxy only in 1908 so that her sons could claim the throne. Vladimir Alexandrovich was also involved in the tragic events of Bloody Sunday, 1905, giving the order to shoot at demonstrators. Emperor Nicholas II chose to step aside from responsibility. Revolution and Jewel Rescue. During the Revolution of 1917, Maria Pavlovna's tiara and other jewels were hidden in the Vladimir Palace. The princess herself was in the Caucasus. However, she quickly realised that her jewellery was in danger and turned to Albert Stopford, an art dealer, antique dealer and diplomat, for help. Stopford entered the palace and took out 2 bags of jewellery, which he then hid and arranged for their transportation to London. Maria Pavlovna also left Russia and reached London, where she met with her treasures. The journey of Maria Pavlovna. Maria Pavlovna's journey was difficult and exhausting. She was 66 years old, and she could no longer withstand all the trials. In 1920, the princess died. Her daughter Elena Vladimirovna inherited the tiara. Tiara Saleh. Elena Vladimirovna sold a tiara to the English Queen Mary of Teck for £28,000. Maria Teck and Elena Vladimirovna were relatives, and their descendants became related through the marriage of Elena Vladimirovna's daughter and Maria Teck's son. After the death of Maria of Teck in 1953, the tiara passed to her granddaughter Elizabeth II. Elizabeth II wore a tiara with both pearls and emeralds, which were part of the Cambridge stones. Thus, the tiara, which was once a wedding gift, became part of the treasury of the English royal family. The Blue Coconut of Westminster, the story of 2 generations of an aristocratic family. We recently talked about the young Duke of Westminster and his family. Today, let's turn to the famous sky blue Chaumet tiara, which disappeared from the family treasury, then reappeared in it. The Duchess of Westminster's blue enamel kokoshnik tiara was created just over 100 years ago by the masters of the Chaumet Jewelry House, which has a 200-year history and was respected among European aristocrats, symbolizing luxury and power. The founder of Chaumet served as court jeweler to Napoleon I and his wife Josephine Beauharnais. Unsurprisingly, the tiara quickly fell into the hands of Hugh Grosvenor, the second Duke of Westminster. At the 1911 auction, the Duke, known for his generosity, immediately purchased the tiara for a considerable sum. It is believed that Hugh Grosvenor bought a tiara for his first wife Constance Cornwallis West in honour of the 10th anniversary of their marriage. Perhaps the Duke also wanted his wife to shine in this exquisite tiara at the coronation of George V and Mary of Teck in the same year. The tiara is a real work of art. It is made of gold, platinum and azure enamel, decorated with 280 diamonds that create a delicate floral arrangement. This is a real homage to French jewelers, to Russian culture and traditions, a work worthy of a museum exhibition. However, the expensive gift could not save the Duke's family. A few years later, he divorced his wife and left the tiara in his collection. After the Duke's death, the family heirloom was put up for auction to help the family pay a huge inheritance tax, which in modern money is estimated at £200 million. The family didn't have enough money, so they had to sacrifice some of the family values. In the early 2000s, one of the Duke's heirs, Gerald Cavendish Grosvenor, was able to find and return the tiara to the family nest. The fate of Gerald, who became a billionaire, although he dreamed of a modest life as a farmer, turned out to be difficult. At the age of 15, he inherited the title of Duke after the death of his uncle, who left no male heirs. Gerald has spent his entire life managing the family fortune while maintaining family loyalty, freedom from prejudice, and independence. Realizing the value of family heirlooms, he devoted many years to recovering lost jewelry, including the Duchess of Westminster's blue enamel kokoshnik tiara. Finally, Gerald's efforts were crowned with success, and the tiara returned to the family, adorning the head of his wife Natalia. However, tiara's fate turned out to be unpredictable again. In 2015, it was sold at auction at Christie's for almost $700,000, becoming a victim of the changeable tastes of its owners. Princess Margaret had a cheerful personality. Despite her rebellious tendencies, she repeatedly put her relatives, including her sister, Queen Elizabeth, in awkward situations. However, it was her eccentricity and lively personality that helped strengthen the popularity of the royal family among her subjects. Margaret was considered an icon of style and had impeccable taste. She loved luxurious and beautiful dresses, and also knew a lot about jewelry, not inferior to her sister Elizabeth II. The princess had a huge amount of jewelry, including many tiaras, necklaces, and other jewelry, both crown and personal. One of Margaret's most famous tiaras is the luxurious Poltimore tiara. Before her wedding to photographer Anthony Armstrong Jones, she purchased this tiara at an auction. Although the exact amount of the transaction is unknown, it is known that it cost about $7,500, which was significantly cheaper than most other royal tiaras. For her wedding, Margaret chose a simple wedding dress to highlight the Baltimore tiara. She wore it as a crown or headband for a high hairstyle in the style of the 60s. She may have picked up this way of wearing from Queen Victoria, who also used a tiara as a headband. The Baltimore tiara got its name from the first owners, the Baltimore Barons. Lady Baltimore commissioned this tiara in 1870, when Queen Victoria ruled England. She subsequently wore it at the coronation of King George V in 1911. Interestingly, the first owner of the tiara was also named Margaret. Margaret wore the Baltimore tiara both at official events and at home. She adored this piece of jewelry and used it with different styles. One of her favorite ways of wearing it was using a tiara in the form of a headband, which created the effect of a floating decoration. To do this, stylists wove a brown ribbon into the frame of the tiara from below, which was hidden in the hairstyle, making the tiara visually hover over the head. The design of the Baltimore tiara was recognized as unique. It was a closed contour, which distinguished it from classic tiaras and made it look like a crown. Such jewelry was popular in England during Victoria's time, but later gave way to kokoshnik tiaras, which became popular in Europe after becoming familiar with the tiaras of the Russian empresses. The emerald and jewelry with it have become favorites of jewelers. Perhaps this is due to Nita Ambany's stunning necklace, which made a splash on the internet. Until recently, the Vladimir tiara of Queen Elizabeth II and other jewels of Russian origin were considered the most famous emeralds in the world. However, now they have been overshadowed by Nita Ambany's necklace. The jewelry, studded with emeralds and diamonds, attracted attention online. Users joked that its price could match the GDP of a small country. The choice of emeralds by Nita and her daughter Aisha Ambany attests to the attractiveness of this gemstone. There are already many emerald designs in the collections of Bulgari and Cartier, but can these ornaments match the richness and luxury of Nita Ambany's necklace? The Duchess of Gloucester at the Guildhall Banquet, the glow of the royal jewels. On the second day of the state visit of the President and First Lady of South Korea to the UK, a traditional banquet was held at the Guildhall. The event was attended by the Lord Mayor of London and royal representatives, including the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. The Duchess's outfit attracted special attention. She complemented it with jewelry from the collection of her late mother-in-law, Princess Alice, Duchess of Gloucester. Many of these jewels were given to Alice by Queen Mary. The central element of Birgitta's image was the honeysuckle tiara, made in 1914 for Queen Mary. It is made of diamonds obtained from the Lady of England and fringe from Surrey tiaras, which were wedding gifts to Mary in 1893. The tiara consists of a central honeysuckle element with a pink gemstone, which can be replaced with a Cullinan 5 diamond or a sapphire brooch. After Queen Mary presented the honeysuckle to her daughter-in-law Alice, the tiara included a spectacular faceted pink topaz and a cabochon emerald. The rest of the patterns decorating the tiara are stylized flowers and leaves. By the end of the 1970s, Princess Alice had given her beloved honeysuckle tiara to her daughter Birgitta. Since then, the Duchess of Gloucester has worn it to all significant events. The magnificent sapphire parure of the Dukes of Kent has undergone significant changes, passing from one owner to another. Royal jewels with coloured stones, especially sapphires, always look spectacular. In the centre of attention is a large miniature with stunning blue crystals from the collection of the Dukes of Kent. Initially, the set consisted of a necklace, tiara and corsage jewellery. It was created at the end of the 19th century from sapphires belonging to the Duchess of Cambridge. She gave these stones to her daughter, Princess Augusta. The Duchess of Mecklenburg-Strelitzia was the first to use sapphires for their intended purpose and give them a decent setting. Unfortunately, the names of the jewelers who created the parure are unknown, but their work can still be appreciated. The Duchess decided to give the set to her goddaughter and at the same time to her niece, Queen Mary, known for her love of jewellery. With her participation, the parure began to change. Maria transformed the necklace into 2 magnificent brooches and redesigned the corsage jewellery, giving it a modern and interesting look. There was another sapphire necklace in the Queen's collection, which she ordered to be redone to restore the set. Thus, the parure has become full-fledged again. The original sapphire tiara was also part of the set. Maria did not stop there. She decided to completely transform the parure according to her taste. The tiara was next in line. Jewelers made a flexible base for it, which allowed it to be worn not only in a hairstyle, but also as a necklace. The Queen added a pair of adorable bracelets with large sapphires. In this form, the parure passed to the Queen's goddaughter, the Greek Princess Marina, as a gift for her wedding to the Duke of Kent in 1934. The new owner was delighted with the jewels and decided not to change them. She wore both a complete set and individual pieces. Marina is depicted in the family sapphires in the portraits of the famous photographer Cecil Beaton. Marina was wearing a complete set, an original tiara, a long necklace, 2 brooches, a corset brooch, 2 bracelets, and a pair of earrings. In 1968, the princess died, and her son Edward inherited the sapphire necklace. His wife actively used the kit, especially in the early years of marriage. Thanks to her, the decorations have been upgraded again. Large sapphires surrounded by myriads of small diamonds were taken from the necklace, which the jewelers turned into a tiara with buttons mounted on a velvet ribbon. The Duchess of Kent, in her original tiara, necklace, corsage and earrings, left, and a new tiara with buttons, right. Due to financial difficulties, the Dukes of Kent were forced to sell part of the parure. Among the lots were the first tiara of Princess Augusta, a corsage, a necklace, and, according to some reports, one of the bracelets or brooches. The family has kept a newer version of the tiara with buttons, which is regularly worn by the current Duchess of Kent. She also has at least one original sapphire brooch. This is significantly less than it was originally, but still better than nothing. The treasures of the Danish crown, the transfer of Margrethe II to Frederick and Mary. On January 14th, our old New Year, Queen Margrethe II of Denmark will make a solemn tour of the city and palaces to officially announce her retirement due to family circumstances. However, this day will be marked not only by public rituals, but also by an important event in the history of the Danish monarchy: the transfer of the royal jewels to her son Frederick and his wife Mary. The crown jewels of Denmark are unique treasures that belong not only to the monarch, but to the whole country. They can only be used by the Queen and only in Denmark. They are usually worn at New Year's receptions, state visits, and other important events. The history of jewellery begins with Queen Sophia Magdalena, the wife of King Christian VI. In her will, she specified that jewellery should always remain with the crown, so that the current queen would always have access to magnificent jewellery. This will was fulfilled, and most of Sophia Magdalena's original jewellery was redone in 1840 by jeweller C.M. Weishaupt. Today, the royal jewels consist of 4 main sets. Diamond set includes a perlepois set with tiara, necklace, earrings and brooches, as well as a large Riviere diamond choker. Emerald set consists of a tiara, necklace, brooch and earrings with emeralds and diamonds. These stones were presented by Christian VI to Sophia Magdalena in 1723. Pearl and ruby set includes a necklace, brooches and earrings with pearls, rubies and diamonds. Shining set with rose-cut diamonds, belt and brooch. This set can be divided into 4 smaller brooches and 2 necklaces. The stones belonged to Princess Charlotte Amalie, sister of Christian the Sussex. In addition to the main sets, there are many other jewels in the treasury of the crown, including the personal jewelry of Queen Margrethe II. Among them is a tiara with a palmette and a sapphire set with a necklace and earrings, ordered by Frederick IX as a wedding gift for his daughter, the heir to the throne. When not in use, the crown jewels are stored in a treasure trove in the secure basement of Rosenborg Castle. Traditionally, royal regalia remains in Denmark, and they are not exported abroad without the permission of the Real Estate Committee. However, on special occasions, such as state visits, the Queen or princesses may use jewellery outside the country. The Danish crown jewels are not only symbols of power and wealth, but also an important part of the country's cultural heritage. They are passed down from generation to generation, remaining accessible to the current Queen and her family. The transfer of the jewels from Margrethe II to Frederick and Mary will be an important event in the history of Denmark, emphasizing the continuity and traditions of the royal family.